for coming. This is Erik Olofsson. He's Swedish, I'm Norwegian, so we're here representing Scandinavia. He is creative director for Grinding Gear Games. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you. Hello, everyone.
So first off, and this is something I've been asking everyone, can you explain your role a little bit and talk a little bit about how that's changed over time and what a daily workday looks like?
So, creative director, that means that you handle pretty much everything creative. So that's concept artists, animation, could be music, effects as well. Mm-hmm. So it's not that everything goes like through me or anything. A lot of it goes like for example, VFX artists collaborating with like game designers to get skills done. There isn't much, but it would be like hiring in all those areas and sort of having an overall look on sort of the style and I guess atmosphere and that kind of thing.
And did that change a lot? Like, for example, in the first years of Grinding Gear Games, did you end up making a lot of like the graphics and art yourself?
Yeah, so for example, a lot of the item art, like inventory item art, that's me back in the day.
Nice.
And a lot of the early uniques and UI and a lot of like environment textures, that kind of thing. Like I really like to do ground textures. But
nice.
For example, it's kind of like there's certain tasks like that can be done, like you put headphones on and listen to music and just sort of get to it as an artist, which I do enjoy. Yeah. But nowadays it's not much of that because it's much more of sort of reviewing other people's work or planning things.
Do you still have a lot of time to like play Path of Exile and are there any other games that you play as well and take inspiration from?
I haven't had that much time to play PoE the last 6 months because of an addition to the family.
Oh nice, congratulations.
But I do have several like 95 plus characters from before. And I try to play like every other league maybe, at least up to maps, but then I can't really have time to play that much more.
Yeah.
But with other games, I do play single player games that take like 6 or 10 hours to finish or something.
Right.
So it's like I try to play games that are quite dark style-wise that fits to find inspiration for PoE.
That seems fitting.
The last one was I have to remember the name. It's like a Plague Tale.
Plague Tale.
Yeah, it's like a sort of medieval scary game.
Oh, cool. Yeah, and Path of Exile has like the entire like ambiance and everything for the most part is like very dark. Do you have like a sort of like favorite act or favorite area of Path of Exile that you feel like is like especially iconic?
Well, there's a lot of places. Like even the first beach, in a way, even like it's very simple, but it still has a very nice feel to it. So, for example, getting washed up on a beach and you have absolutely nothing and you look trashy and you pick up like driftwood stuff to like attack crabs. That like it has a nice feel to it, even if it might not be the most sort of graphically amazing, or you can have like nice waves and like sort of moody rain and like mist and so on, but it a little bit goes against the whole like you have to be like this amazing superhero right away with like big explosions,
right?
Where I like the atmospheric take to it more, because then you have sort of a wider range from starting out small and sort of building on your character and like getting to more and more impressive things. So you sort of a bigger range.
It's a very nice character arc.
Yeah.
How directly involved with all like the lore and the storyline of Path of Exile would you be then?
Quite a lot. So I'm not a writer myself, so I wouldn't. There's certain. I would say it's more of a sort of overall feel than the sort of exact.
Yeah.
The exact sort of drama between characters.
And with all the new content coming in, does that get really hard to balance with like trying to make the new storyline and everything fit into the story of Path of Exile and the lore with while still adding new content without it contradicting the stuff that's like already there.
It seems to go relatively easily. We never really the lore and the story in PoE is quite like it's kind of small pieces here and there, and it's not sort of super set in stone. And I would actually want to explore that more, where you might have, okay, this is the history of Rayclass like written by this person, and this is the history written by this other person, and you don't actually know which one is true. And it would give kind of more room to play with, but otherwise also never really like writing out the exact happenings. So there's more, like basically leaving more to the imagination of the player.
Yeah, sort of like Path of Exile is like a bunch of short stories right now. And you have to like talk to each individual NPC, and they have lots of different options. And that can take a lot of time. In like Path of Exile 2, is it going to be as time consuming to explore all the story and the lore? Or is there going to be like an easier way for players who are really interested in that to like discover it?
We have discussed some ways of making it easier to, like, for example, queue up what an NPC talks about, so you could continue to play through areas and like finishing the queue. But we will otherwise probably follow the format where you can sort of find out more if you want, but if you really want to play through fast, then you can sort of get the gist of what the NPCs are saying just through their, like the way their greeting is said, or like how so for example, we can make the greeting change where like before he can be grumpy, but then you solve a quest for him and then they are not grumpy. So sort of almost having two parallel stories, with one is like for running through super quickly and making it easy to understand without like a lot of dialogue, but then also the deeper one at the same time for people that really want to look for that.
Through one of the supporter packs, I got one of the like comic art book things.
Yeah.
Which I think was the story about like Victario and Combe and all that stuff, and it was actually pretty interesting, especially like which is great because that's not the type of stuff I normally care about. So, are we going to see more of that like type of like artwork with like the comic book type?
Yeah, we almost certainly will. So, that comic book, it was a lot of work to do, but it was also very good for, like it forced us to take the different story elements and actually make it cohesive, because before that we didn't actually know what sort of happened in the past. So, it's a good way to sort of create more background material for the game as well.
Yeah, and it's just so incredible how good the lore is. So it's a bit of a shame that more people don't like get into it as much. But I think part of that too is things like cutscenes. I'm guessing that like gets brought up a lot.
We have considered it a bit. It's a matter of prioritization, because if we do that, then we have to do it really well, and then it's not super easy. But we can definitely do. Well, you saw the intro in PoE 2. Then our stuff holds up a bit better for that kind of thing now.
Yeah,
if we're kind of smart and okay, it's like dark and rainy, so you don't fully see that it's not movie quality, but it still sort of gets the point across.
Yeah, and like especially like proper cinematics is like crazy expensive, I'd imagine, with having to like pre-render everything. So.
Yes, and also those, like the lead time can be 1 or 2 years on a proper good cinematics. Okay. So that means you would have to actually design the content with like 2 years ahead, and that's just not what we do.
One of the things, this is particularly to do with microtransactions in Path of Exile, because Path of Exile is so dark and like gritty and bloody. I was very surprised to see things like the butterfly wings microtransactions and the clown outfits. How do you feel about stuff like that, and is that something we're going to see more or less of, and particularly things that don't necessarily fit into Path of Exile?
we will have to, like the range of things in MTX would have to be higher, just because otherwise it's very hard to sort of redo the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
So it would have to be a bit more of it. And we also have this problem, especially with PoE 2, then all the like when we remake everything, then all the normal armor sets will look like amazing. So then we have to, like, they have to be like glow or like actual mechanical parts or like
that sounds
like
really cool.
really things that sort of stand out with the MTX.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, much more like physics things that like hang around and do cool things.
That sounds really cool. Like, because there are already a few like armor sets in the base game that looks like amazing without any microtransactions. Like, for example, Brastom. Do you have any like favorite like cosmetic sets or anything like that you think like looks exceptionally well?
I really like things like the Stygian armor set, for example. That tends to be the example I bring out as something that works well because of the, like, it has quite a lot of fine detail, but it also have quite big graphical shapes that works when the character is very small on screen. Like it has like large shoulder pads, and it has the sort of flames and glowing things, and also at the same time that one is not like, it's not kind of gaudy glowy, it's kind of quite dark and glowy at the same time.
It looks really good, and there are a lot of ones that do. I'm very, very excited for like seeing like the direction, especially like all the art and stuff is going to take in PoE 2. Like just seeing the Path of Exile 2 like demo, it's like incredible like how like it all feels.
PoE 2 was great to work on because in a way it was like we could redo things that for like almost 10 years we sort of knew we could do better, and with the feel of everything, like it's remaking the forest, which is like, I like our current forest, but it's a little bit sort of light and there's sort of bandits and so on, and then making a proper gothic one with like werewolves and so on instead. That was
so a lot of Path of Exile is based on like New Zealand, and you can like see it when like traveling around and like things like just by like visiting different areas you can see, okay, this is like in Path of Exile. Since you're Swedish, is there like anything from Sweden that you've like sort of been inspired by and put into the game?
I can't think of anything directly. We do have a bit of more of a Viking look on things in PoE 2, like in the very beginning, like the first rusted helmet. It's a little bit sort of Viking looking, I guess.
Nice. So we're gonna like almost get Vikings.
Yeah, but otherwise, a lot of the New Zealand things, that's just like, obviously you get inspired what you have around you.
Yeah.
And when we needed like grass textures for the game, like you just go outside and take sort of photos of it and cut it out and sort of put it in the game. So that's like, there's this tui grass on beaches that you can see it on the ledge, for example.
Awesome. No, that's really cool. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Next up, we have Rory and Riss joining us as well.
Bye, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.